Me? We are not. I'm okay, actually. I'll just keep yours above here.
Thank
Is that
you,
good?
thank you.
So this is Brother Dearest again today.
Hello.
Hello. And he has brought his coffee. What would you call it? A coffee?
I call it the mobile coffee unit. The
I mean,
MCU, if you will.
It actually deserves that title of MCU. We're going to drive to Carnlough, we think, although this is about the feeling, the location.
Yes, I believe so.
We're going to
no plans.
We're going to feel the location, and we're going to eat. We're going to have burgers and beautiful bacon, and there was cheese there. Oh, and then we're going to have nice coffee. I'm going to fly the drone, and then after all of this, I'm going to do a painting in the studio. Shall we go?
Let
us go. Okay, so where have we arrived?
We are somewhere just outside Carnlough.
Which is heading toward, well, I suppose it is on the north coast. It's really, really windy. I don't think I'm going to get the drone up, but what I will do is just show you the general area. Right, so we need the tour of what we're eating. So I'm going to flip the camera in 2 seconds, go. Right.
Tonight we are going to have some steak burgers.
Yo!
In a brioche bun.
Brioche do make the difference, don't they?
Yeah, nicer taste. With hickory smoked bacon and some processed cheese.
And then either the option of the red sauce or the barbecue sauce. I'd love to tell you I thought that through, but it was just that they were in the fridge in the actual van. So we're going to cook these first, and then we'll do the coffee after that.
We'll do a coffee after we eat.
Tremendous. We'll get cooking, brother.
Nice.
I have to say, Brother Dearest, you look like you're in your natural habitat here.
I certainly
just
am.
Cooking in a van. I think we're both in our natural habitat. Now, do you want to listen to the sizzle of that? Oh yes. Northern Irish bacon and Northern Irish beef. Okay, brother, I'm going to leave you cooking and I'm going to go outside here. It's so lovely and warm in here. I would go. So this is where we'll have Birdie this time. I'm going to shout because it's just so blooming windy. So let me just pinch out so we're a bit more full frame. So there's Birdie in her natural habitat. This is the glorious, close to Carnlough, but if I just look up the back here, we've got this backdrop of the mountainside or the hillside, and then looking over towards there is just really more of the north coast. And Carnlough, where we were initially thinking, was further on down there. One of the things I love about living in Northern Ireland is look at that. Now, we've got the glorious rocks, but then we've got that just full vista of the ocean and the grey skies that are so familiar for me. So I was hoping to send the drone up, but I would like to have the drone for other videos. So I'm not going to send the drone up today because it is so unbelievably windy. But what I am going to do is take a picture here, similar to what I did in another video. Take a picture here. I'm going to eat, enjoy what my brother's made. I'm going to spend time with my brother, eat my food, and I'm going to just take a picture now that we're going to then complete together. I think probably in watercolor and ink when we get back to the studio. Okay, sound like a plan? Let's roll with the punches. So I've just got back into the van and my brother has presented me with this. He toasted the bun as well. Oh, I'm going to put on a little bit of cheese and some tomato ketchup. And I assume you're going to eat as well, aren't you?
Oh, absolutely. Mine is underway, yeah.
Still going
coming
strong.
now, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Fight for the last burger.
Right, so I'm going to eat and enjoy some of this. I'll show you his as well. Sure, we'll just do gratuitous food in this video. I can confirm the burger is beautiful, and hickory smoked ham, or hickory smoked bacon.
If I do say so myself.
It is a beautiful burger. This is the scene of a man enjoying a burger in a camper van. And I didn't realise, but there's actually two burgers. Well, there's a burger left we're going to split and then have the bacon on. But we're going to eat these now.
Mountains of bacon. Toasting up nicely there, and little gleaming bits of fat just to add to the flavour.
Never gets old. Just boiling a kettle in a camper. So here is the mobile, what did you call it?
Mobile coffee unit.
Mobile
MCU.
coffee, right. I quite like the MCU. So you may think that it's a camera bag, but it's actually not. It's an MCU mobile coffee unit, right, brother? Go for it.
Okay, so very simple. Just got a little camping pot, and then inside it we've got a little fuel, which we'll not be needing today, cloth in there to stop it rattling about.
But also you need a cloth.
And who doesn't need a cloth in life? Then we've got a little bit of decaf ground this morning. Hopefully don't throw it all around me.
And what did you say
Wild
that
Heart coffee.
It smells
very
lovely.
nice.
Freshly ground, you said, yeah?
Decaf, yeah. Velo caffeinated coffee. This is from our roasters in Cork. Also
Quite light in colour as well.
Quite light. And then the AeroPress, which we'll be showing in a wee minute. My mug. And for the fuel cell, if we were using it.
Yeah, I love those wee things.
Stove.
And I take it they're easy enough to attach onto the actual gas
This
unit
one's
as well.
actually an easy fit one.
Ah, nice.
With camping gas, so you just screw it on and work away.
How much would you pay for that?
I think I paid probably between 15 and 20 pounds.
Right, so it's not too
for
bad.
it, and then the fuel is about 7.
Right, they're not too bad.
So not bad, and you'll get a few hours burning out of it. So apart from a couple of other accoutrements, that's basically that.
Okay, so and in perfect time the kettle is just boiled, so I'll let him get set up with the AeroPress, and then of course we'll video that process. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is one man from his mobile coffee unit about to prepare an espresso.
Hopefully 2. So I had been using it the way it's programmed to be used, which is that way around, but I'd watched a couple of YouTube videos that recommended this way, and I find it easier to work with.
You said that's watertight then, or
That's
waterproof?
watertight.
Right, okay.
Hopefully I will not be proved wrong. So we're just going to go for 2 scoops, not being very particular about this in terms of weighing out or anything like that.
And what type of coffee was that one again?
This is the Wild Heart decaf
Okay, and is that a local?
coffee. So that is a local roasters, I believe, got from a local coffee shop.
Like
in
so
Yards.
right in Newton, so County Down.
So you just then.
It's actually a lot
Add
more
this
coffee,
up.
Simon, than I thought you would.
Yeah, well, you're making espressos, so when you normally have an espresso, it would be 2 shots of coffee would be your standard sort of thing.
Look at that bubbling away like it's a chemistry lab or something like that.
So then you
What-
get this little gizmo here, just to, I suppose the barista term is to agitate it, or something like that.
I have never actually made a AeroPress, so this is a new one on me. And then you get that lovely, isn't it called crema?
That's the crema at the top. So the theory is then that you leave it for about 3 or 4 minutes. So
Okay.
we'll maybe come back to you in that time
Okay.
and pour.
Excellent. So back in 2 minutes. Okay, so the coffee's now been sitting for a while, and do please note as well, Brother Dearest even has this milk. Now you said that you bought these. How many did you get in a pack?
Oh, you can get as many as you want. You sort of 50, 100, 150. I tend to buy them in hundreds usually.
And that's about
I
a
think.
fiver, did you say?
It depends on the offer that they have at the time. It's certainly a little pricier than buying the milk itself, but I would use them in work and stuff like that.
I would also, it's just good to have.
And
So it's
stay
this,
fresh.
it's
Not
ultra hydrated,
stolen
isn't it?
from a local fast food restaurant, I hasten to add. So I've just got this little paper filter in here, which I'm going to wet so that it sticks and not burn myself in the process. So, one wet filter. Coffee aficionados, please forgive me. This is by no means.
It feels more like a chemistry experiment
The
than
right
making coffee.
way
Maybe
to
that's
do it.
why it appeals.
So, what we do then, this is the little sort of beaker, I suppose, that it comes in, and then we flip it. And so we've created a vacuum. So, as close to espresso without an espresso machine, I suppose, and then we just plunge it sort of slowly and evenly. It does take a wee bit of pressure to go through.
So there's actually, because there's a wee bit of air there, but that air is actually forcing it down because
Yeah.
it's.
Yeah,
Oh.
exactly. So it's kind of creating the pressure that you would get with an espresso.
Who knew that
machine.
you would get a lesson on making
The
espresso?
little logo bit there.
They always kind of fascinated me, but they did seem like a lot of work. But you enjoy it though, don't you?
I enjoy it. I like the process of it. It's not suitable for every time. You know, if you want a cup of coffee, sometimes you just want something quick, and this is not the one for it. But if you have the time and the inclination, it's a nice way to have coffee, in my experience.
Also doing it in a van sitting just by the seaside is quite nice too.
It's pretty hard to beat. So we're a little over halfway there. I am putting quite a bit of pressure on it.
So it's I was going to say it's like a cafetiere, but what I find with the French press, there is a flavour you get off the French press, I think, because of I don't know what it is, but it just I don't love it.
Yeah, it can be, I think, if you end up letting it steep too long, sometimes you can get, I think it also can depend on temperature of water. Again, I'm no expert, but these are the things I've read.
But your son is an expert.
My son
has one of those kettles that you can actually boil to the correct temperature,
yes,
isn't that right, for coffee?
Gooseneck kettle with a temperature gauge on it. So we're nearly there. This, in fact, is his AeroPress. So
did he donate it to the cause, or did he forget
that? Realised that he's donated it, but I lifted it out of the cupboard.
So thanks, Daniel.
Something. So thank you, Daniel. If you're watching, if you're not watching, why not?
He'll be wanting his AeroPress back.
He will. No.
Okay, so let's see.
So I think we've still got a little.
Is there a little bit more to go? Okay, we're committed to this process, people. Just like we're committed to the process of painting, process of coffee making. So it really does require a lot of effort.
There is quite a bit of effort involved.
Over there, a wee bit more.
I may need to.
You can hear it sort of squishing out.
I'm just going to pop it on the floor a wee minute.
Ah, you can hear it now. If you needed to go to the loo, I'm sorry. Right.
So.
That should be us now.
And then there you have
the amber nectar. So
espresso.
that's the espresso, and I was saying I haven't had a decaf espresso before, so I'm really looking forward to trying this. Excellent. So we'll get this poured and sampled. Okay, so I've added my milk in, and also the perfect accompaniment. Now it's of course not just because that's all I had in the van, and I was in charge of. I don't think I was. We didn't say I was in charge of dessert.
Nobody was ever nominated for dessert.
But you just want a wee biscuit, and a biscoff with a cup of coffee is hard to beat.
Good combo.
Nice job, thank you, brother.
Welcome.
So these are the faces of two men who have, middle-aged though we are,
yes,
just enjoyed the simplicities of life. And I even said it was quite nice doing the dishes on the side of the road.
He did. I can vouch for him.
And what's your summary, brother?
Lovely burgers with the bacon and cheese, and really quite pleasantly surprised that the coffee was as nice as what it was.
Was lovely.
Always a bit of an experiment when it comes to things like that. So absolutely delighted. Really nice evening.
Lovely. So back to the studio, and we will do a watercolor and ink of one of the stills that I've taken of this beautiful area. So see you soon. Well, welcome back to the studio, and quick wardrobe change. I've had loads of jokes today about this being like something that's from their granny's curtains and all. Anyway, I like this shirt. Feel cool and trendy. Anyhow, what I'm going to use this time, we're going to try all these. I was sent these by Paul Rubens, so I thought I'd give these a whirl. I'll swatch them out, and then we're going to do a watercolor and ink piece from what we took while we were out and about in, I can't even remember the area, in Durain's Bay. I think it was that kind of area close to Ballygally. And I shall show you the picture that we're going to be doing, which I went for the mountains that were behind. So you can see there. They're really rather nice and rugged, very Northern Irish. So come on, let's make a start. We'll swatch these out. We see how well these are packed. They're beautiful. We'll swatch these out, and then we'll start painting. Okay, so where do you see this? Now this is solid cardboard, which I really like actually. And look at this. Isn't this really, really nice? Very precious. Now it did come with, has this nice, I love these types of tins actually in the, for those of you, I'm sure most of you do know, but you can use that, you know, whenever you're doing plein air, so that hooks it in, and then you've got a nice way to hold it and it's not going to fall off. So I'm just going to move that over there. So they all did come, they had the coverings on them, but for ease just of being able to swatch these out. So I think we'll do it this way around, and then just all the different color charts and things like that on it. So I'm not actually going to tell you all the different colors and things. We're just going to swatch them and see. So what I'm going to do is start with the left hand side, Now, I have never used these before, so this is going to be really interesting to see what they're like. That's clearly an ultramarine. So I'm just doing a little dab on each. Oh my goodness. Pretty darn explosive. Just doing 1, 2, 3 on the palette, so we're getting the same amount. That's a kind of like a phthalo blue. This set is, I think they're selling it as really something for doing flowers and things like that, which I do sometimes. But when they got in touch and said, would you like to try them? I thought, sure. And I've never used them before, as you can tell. They're all beautifully lovely. They're really vibrant. And look how they're settling. So initial thoughts are vibrant and interesting with the pigments. Actually really nice with the pigments. Into the greens. These are obviously the colours that I would be more interested in and more likely to use because it's my Northern Irish kind of colours. Now let me agitate that one a little bit more to give a true representation. So that's really quite light, that one. So there's me thinking that I hadn't agitated enough as similar to the rest. Nice brown. These are really settling really beautifully. Let's see what this one is. Oh, that's another, so that's the burnt umber then. Lovely. And then this one I would assume is a black. No, it's another brown. Interesting. Okay, so then to this side here. So this looks like a lemon yellow. And again, whoa, punchy pigments in that one. There's a cadmium yellow. Very nice. Then this is going to be more some type of an orange. Well, feels like that sort of midpoint between an orange and a red actually. This is much more tangerine kind of. That's really punchy too. And into the world of the reds. That very nearly poster box red. I suppose that is actually a cadmium, that one. And then I would assume getting a little bit cooler. There's a rose. That must be the rose. Now the rose obviously is very, very light in comparison, but look at that separation of pigment, which is lovely. I would imagine we're heading way towards a alizarin crimson now. It's actually quite nice not having to, you know, read through what the colours are called. Whoa! And just experience them the first hand as well. That's like that's a quinacridone if I ever saw one. And then we're into a lilac. Slightly gouache kind of feel to that one, just because of the, obviously they've added some sort of a white to that. I think this is like an aubergine kind of, whoa, goodness me, aubergine kind of purple. So there's actually no black in this set as well. The impressionists would be happy. Okay, now let's have a look. So actually the pigment is really lovely as to how they're settling and granulating a little anyway, but those colours are very, very vibrant. It'll be interesting to see whenever we're painting as to how well they layer, but certainly initially from the packaging is lovely. I always think thickness of cardboard, it's like when you're handed a business card and it's nice and thick, it feels much more professional and deliberate. So I mean, really nice tin, very quirky that it's pink. So let's create an artwork with this and do this scene together, and let's see how these perform. Okay, we're all set up. So for those of you who hadn't actually seen the image, it was what was behind us when we were where the camper van was, just that lovely rugged kind of mountain scene. I didn't really want to do the sea. In some ways I thought the sea was really very simple and not much going on there, you know, so I've done the sea scenes before, so I thought we would stay with this one. Okay, so we're using the Unipins, and I'm going to use a 0.05 and also grab a 0.5 as well for those thicker colours. So let me show you this swatch again as well. You can see the way that the colours are drying, and they're drying really very nicely as well. And look at this one, how pigmented that is with the rose pink. Anyway, right, so we're starting with the 0.05. And what we're going to do is we're just going to provide really the structure that we're the structure of the mountainside. So this is looking up, but it gives you a nice, it's very Northern Irish, I have to say. Very Northern Irish. And just really, this is, like I've said before, this gives the structure of the actual scene, you know. So there's so much that we're going to do with the watercolor and build up, and this is going to be a really good test of these floral Paul Rubens as well, to see what have they got the goods. Another proper review, but also just really nice doing the watercolor and ink. So just enjoying making some of these marks here, providing this kind of a structure here. Now the other thing, and then we've got these rocks that are sort of feeling like they're kind of jutting out. There was a lovely bit that we drove past, and had I been able to stop I would have, where the sheep were standing on this grassy kind of outcrop of rock that was just nearly leaning out into the road. It was really, again, very Irish, really very, very Irish. And unfortunately I was driving, and my brother needed to get home for a certain time, but I'm happy with what we've got here. Okay, and then just moving this bit of rock here. Just nerding out at some of these details here, which is lovely. Just trying to get some detail of the rocks, and they're lovely and separated. They're almost mosaic-like, aren't they? You know, just getting the rough kind of structure here. Okay, and then there's lots of little bits of detail and things over there. Okay, and then this little bit here, and then sort of given the general gist of the area. And okay, that's going to do us with that pen. That's a 0.05. Now we're going to move to the 0.5. Now the reason why I do this is that what it does is it notices where the darkest points are. And when I started doing this, I find this to be so helpful, because it just feels like all of a sudden the picture then has this kind of depth to it that really comes out of nowhere, because you're just noticing the darkest points. And the other thing is that it forces you to notice the darkest points as well, you know. So I really value this as a part of it. So let's move this across here. Okay, and then these bits are really, so just dark line coming there and up through these little bits. Watercolor ink is just such a, never gets old. It's just the best thing in the world to use, you know. You know, you find something you're meant to do whenever you just love it continuously over decades, eh? Okay, and little marks here. And this little bit dark bit here. Oh, and throughout here there's loads. And it's like all these things, when you start noticing one little bit of dark, then you'll notice it all over the place. Okay, so the next bit for me is the stampers. So I'll get those added on, and then I'll not force you to go through that process, but I'll get those added on, and then we'll begin painting. Okay, so here we are, and got my 3 lifts of water in there. So we're going to start to mix for the sky. Now, the problem is that I have absolutely no idea what these colours are. So, and that's green, so I have really no idea what these colours are. So we're just going to have to keep experimenting. This is where you notice the difference of having your own colour. So I'm going to take some of this red as well to see if we can mix this to, we're going to go to purple, and then hopefully we're going to go to a black, which hopefully we have kind of found there. And this is going to be a really dark sky, and that's totally fine. Let me just make that a lot a lot more diluted. We're going to actually, do you know what? Just going to drop water straight on there. Now that's a nice way to get an effect of a sky as well. You can kind of move it about a little bit. Now, as you guys know, that whenever I'm doing a sky, I don't tend to revisit it. So I'm just going to, let me move that over here ever so slightly. Just going to take this across to this point there. Okay, and that's actually quite nice the way that that's mixing together. Then we'll just get a little bit of a tap across there. Okay, so what we can definitely see, what we can definitely see from these colors is that they are strong, and they're really highly pigmented. So let me take the most obvious green here, which is pretty darn electric, and then another not so obvious green. I'm just going to try and settle these greens down a little bit now. Going to be using lots of earthy colors to be able to do that. Now I'm going to have to work this back to a green now as well. So, but let's see what we've got. That's actually not too bad. So we're just going to make these marks here now. It is much more kind of a, I was going to say like an orangey sort of tone, more so than I would have wanted. But let me get some of this green. Just trying to get my bearings really. Just touching around these colors here to try and figure out what on earth actually is what. So the one thing that we know about these Paul Rubens is they are seriously highly pigmented, and that's actually quite lovely to work. And the way that they are working with the page as well. So sorry about that. See if we can move that one away a little bit more. So if we're just going to move this light source down a little bit more to see if we can. There we are, we're moving away. That's much better now, good. We're just getting a little bit of a reflection at that point there. So what we know about these colors is that they are incredibly vibrant. Do not add in what is like a viridian there, and I'm going to use, that's actually really rich. That's probably more the sort of richer tone that I was looking for. But we're just going to bring this across. We're just going to build this up really nice and slowly. And also in this area down here, it's just got little sections where the, so that's actually a little bit darker there. I'm just trying to read this a little bit more. Just going to drop in ever so slightly, little bit of green there. See what that does. And then we've got this much richer green that is happening just down in the back here. So let's add that there. And then these much darker tones. So I'm going to take loads of the brown now. And that's giving me actually a really nice, that's exactly what I'm looking for. But these are powerful colours, or power. We say in Northern Ireland power, but the rest of the world says power. So let me just get a little bit of a tap there. Just a little gentle tap. The tap test, I would say they seem to pass the tap test quite well. Just making these little marks. We're using this one of my favourite brushes from Saucestern Green, just the little mini pointed wash. So just bringing this across here, just noticing these little areas. Now at this top bit here, this is really interesting. I'm going to move to the flat edge brush for this. This is a 12 flat shader, number 12 flat shader, and it has, that's really, oh, that is a brown. Geez, that's more of a brown than I thought it was. So there is this thing about whenever you're using a new palette that you are just trying to get your head around what's actually in front of you. Okay, so this seems pretty good to me. Just going to make some line work there. And actually it must be warmer in here than it feels, because it feels like it's drying pretty quickly. Don't want to go too near to the edge because some of it's not dry yet. And then the other thing that I want to do is to take this brown. Now, because it's so pigmented, then actually what's happening is that the water is really discolored. Now, that doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me in the slightest. But it is something to note. Oops. We've gone way off here now. Actually, have we gone way off? I think we might be actually arriving at quite a nice mix of colour there. So this is really layer 1. Now, I'm not convinced this to be much more brown. Okay, so let's just take the flat edge brush. I'm just going to make some of these kind of spidery marks because the rocks have that kind of almost slate-like feel. So now these be good to have the lines a little bit thinner than that, but that's okay. We're not going to cry over that. We're just getting the general sense of the place. And then it's going to be much darker. Now that's actually dry in this section here. And I have to remind you that we're getting very close to what is the ugly stage. Let me darken this one down again. Cheapers, oh. You don't need much of these. I suppose that's why they're maybe selling them as for floral, because they really are going to, you know, explode and give you those kind of really, really vibrant colors. Just going to add on a little bit of this brown here as well. Just a touch of brown just around this section. And okay, and the other thing for the rocks, now let's see what we can do with the rocks. So I'm going to take my trusty sponge, get it really wet, and then I can clean off some of these colors here. Sorry, I was getting it really wet. You know the way those natural brushes are really crunchy when they dry, and then I'm just going to clean these off here so that don't need that sky color anymore. Really pleased with how the pigment is settling in the sky. I think that's really interesting. But just for this, the blue of the rock, so what normally I would do is take this, it's like it is kind of a cerulean, but I'm going to mix this, and because there's a little bit of green still on the brush, it's exactly what I'm looking for actually color wise. So there's just little sections here that have got this. Those little bits of grey that are happening just throughout there. So this is layer 1, so we're just going for the noticeable colours and building this up nice and slowly. Now this is a longer video than normal, and you can let me know what you think of the section where we spent a bit more time talking about the food we were eating. So good to have my brother just participating even more in the process of making these videos. Really enjoy getting that time together, which is really cool as well. So it's going to do that little bit splat there. Okay, so now what we need to do is to get this to dry, and then we can add in the next layer. Okay, so we've got everything's dry now. So what we're going to do is let me actually move across to the flat edge brush, because I think it's going to be something a bit better. In fact, what I'm going to use is my beloved 3/4 flat wash, the Daler Rowney Simply range, because I think actually that's going to be even better for what it is that I'm looking for. So I just want to touch on some of this. So this is the color that we've already got mixed, and we're just bringing a little bit of this. Now actually what we need to do is to darken this down. Now I am laughing because it seems like darkening down and strengthening the pigment is not something that is difficult for these paints. They are full of they're just totally chock-a-block full of strength, and oh, and look, they layer really quite beautifully. Well done, Paul Rubens. I'll say this again at the end, but I would have absolutely no hesitation in recommending these. And actually, if you haven't seen one of my last videos there, that was about the Daniel Smith watercolor sticks, and I know lots of you really felt for me that they weren't good, but don't feel for me. I really enjoyed doing a really real review, because I have never used these before, and I am absolutely and utterly really loving using them. And as I said there, have no hesitation in recommending that others would get them. You know, they're really Really, really full of pigment. They layer really well. They dry really nicely. There's not a lot of bad things that I can say about these. Okay, so just going to try and find a green that isn't quite so insane, although that is actually quite nice just as it is there. So let's bring some of that across. And what this is going to do as well is really show off the layering capabilities of these paints even better than before. So retaining some of that, I love just this sort of process of making marks, and then in the mark making, that's where this really builds. I really, really enjoy that. So let's keep going with that. Oh, got the wrong paint there, that's all right. Just moving that round there. Okay, and pull a little bit over here, and I'm going to actually let that bleed ever so slightly in that section there. Okay, now actually what I will do is, let's take that across that section there. Okay, now what I want to do then is go into this section at the back here with more of the brown. Now, I would ideally like to settle this. It's too vibrant. Just trying to find a blue that's gonna, yeah, because that's going to take me to a nice grey. Yeah, there we go. That's what I'm looking for, but I want a little bit more. Yeah, I think that's about right there. A bit more of a brown tone. I'm just using the corner of the flat edge here to begin to build up this kind of feeling of this darker part as we're looking up towards this rock face. And it all gets kind of muddled in that section. I'm going to bring some of that down here to where these rocks are as well. Just a little bit on this side there. Okay, and the other thing is then I want to bring more of that kind of a tone, and that's okay that that's bleeding slightly over there. Great, okay, let's get this to dry and then we'll do another layer. Okay, that's that layer now nicely dry. So what I want to do then is I want to go in with this, so I'm going to take that blue again, and that's working well with that brown as well. That's giving me a nice, I'm going to take more of that blue. The ultramarine is taking that really nicely down, but also I'm actually looking for quite a strong sort of pigment. I think that's really what I'm looking for there. I want it to set up quite a bit in this section to bring in some of these darker points. So I'm really letting the paint, you know, sit quite heavy on particular parts here. And just turning that brush around, because, you know, even with a brush that's around, it's going to give you different qualities of line the more you move it around there. So I'm not, like, it's not that I want every bit of this to be exactly the same. This is a reference. I know I've talked about this a lot. It's a reference. I don't have to be slave to it, but it is also lovely just working to it as well, you know. It's all about balance. Okay, this is shaping up really well. I am very pleased with these paints. Really, really, really quite taken with them. I think they just seem to work so well. Okay, that's good. Just concentrating here on mixing. That's actually coming to a nice colour now. Wee bit too much there, but we'll just settle that down again. I'll bring in some of this. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so in this section across the top here, there seems to be just these just stronger bits of grass areas. They look like they're nearly sort of mowed or something like that. And just enjoying bringing a little bit of that in there, and just bringing in more of the viridian here for this bit, because this bit here that's actually that tone. Now that's a good match. I'm pleased with that. I really enjoy matching the tones in paintings. It's a value that I hold. Not always using realistic colors, but really, really enjoy doing that. So it's something that's important to me as I paint. So just for any of you who haven't seen me paint before, that's what that's about. Okay, now I'm going to go back to this, mix this into a really quite a strong colour this time. I'm going to take the brown, and these are actually, because they're wet now as well, jeepers, the pigment is coming off mightily. So what I want to do is create that darkest area here, because that's going to be important for the overall kind of feel of it, and then to recreate that again over on just a little bit of this side over here. Now again, down here, that's where my little guide comes in handy, just to remember where bits of it are. And also then as we go up here, this idea that some of these, and actually this is going to tie it all together, and if some of this bleeds down, then that's going to work really quite nicely as well. So just to get the tops of some of these, just taking that brush at that slight angle, because there is this idea that there's almost like trees coming across. As I just gently tap down there, it's going to soften that line. Very, very, I like to, just going to bring this down with a little bit of that ultramarine that's darkened that down quite beautifully there. Didn't expect that to work so well. Well, really nice to do one review that wasn't so good and then another then that really was right beside it, eh? Keeps it real. And then I'm just going to darken out a little bit across this section here, and then down there. And then, ladies and gentlemen, I am pretty content that we are done. So I'm going to get this dry, and then I'm going to zoom in closer on it, because I know a lot of you really like to see it after it's dry as well. So let me get that dried, and then I'll do that for you. So there you are. That's it, completely dry. Isn't this kind of effect that you're getting here? Now I know this is a cauliflower, but look at that separating out of the pigment there. The layering is just wonderful. The strength of the pigment is just great. The splatter's lovely in this. Really, really pleased with this one, so you can let me know what you think too. Well, now I hope you enjoyed that. The process of layering, the drawing in the two strengths of line of the unipin, that's really old school for me, and I love painting and doing the line work and then painting like that. I want to heartily recommend these. These are by Paul Rubens, and this is the Floral set, or what does it say on it? Find out just watercolor, flower color matching. I mean, I'm never going to paint like this. How I'm going to paint is the layering up process that I've just demonstrated, but heartily recommend these. These are absolutely excellent. So thank you to Paul Rubens for sending these to me to try them out. You can have a go too. Wonderful strength in pigment, great layering. You don't need very much whatsoever. Great tin packaging is great, brilliant. Anyway, really hope you enjoyed this video. Really interested to see your comments on this one. Good to have my brother, good old brother dearest. Noticed how much watching back the videos I call him brother dearest. Hey, it's a term of affection. Thank you to Simon for being in the video, for walking us through what it is to do an AeroPress, which is really quite a convoluted process, but gloriously gorgeous coffee. I must get from him what that coffee is, and I will put that in the description below. There should be links for this as well if I can find that, but if not, it is, as he remembers, Flower Color Matching Set by Paul Rubens. Thank you for being here again. Thank you for watching the videos. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit the little bell icon so you will be notified of when new videos are dropping. For more information about me, you can head to woodwardswatercolors.co.uk. Don't forget to put the www in front of that. You can Google it. I should come up as Woodwards Watercolors. If you're interested in buying any of my paintings, that would be amazing. They are available on Etsy or directly via me. The Etsy site is called, or the Etsy store is called Woodwards Watercolors. Great to have you, and I will see you in the next video sometime soon. Bye for now.